Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Neil, Click OK, Jin, Sensual Goat, and a whole bunch of people. Oh, and Arthur B. Flat, and a whole bunch of people in the Flat Earth Debate Discord server. So, welcome one and all.
Let's get it on!
Try to wait before I've finished the intro next time. Thank you. Are you okay,
Let's
Arthur?
get it on!
Bloody hellfire. Great start. Are you okay, Arthur? You're dropping in and out constantly. Is everything okay?
Yes, all is good. I just clicked on the wrong button.
Fair enough. Jolly good. Very distracting it was, but that's okay by me. So there was some...
No, what'd be... Sorry, but what'll be distracting is if he goes on video. The son of a gun is so handsome, he's got to stay off.
Come on.
Nobody wants
Use the error.
Nobody wants to see that majestic beard. There was some hints in the pre-show that we are causing irritation to our brothers on the other side of the flat earth pond by not wanting to engage with them anymore. And in reality, there are plenty of normal people who appreciate how Earth is dealt with. That's flat. And don't make apologies for how globe-shaped it isn't after explaining how Earth is being utilised and measured as a flat plane. Ergo, why bother dealing with people who make apologies for how globe-shaped things aren't when doing, I know, like this on screen, an elevation or altitude angle measurement with respect to a flat planar surface in the line of the horizon, as depicted in this diagrammatical example of measuring Earth flat. If you're utilising celestial navigation, you're going to be measuring Earth flat. So why deal with people who say, well, we do measure Earth flat, but only because it's a really big ball, as an apologetics for how flat they're measuring it and how ball-shaped they are not measuring it? Why deal with those people? Now, there's a suggestion that that makes me a coward when some fake name troll says that I don't want to deal with them when I don't even know their real name. Meanwhile, everybody measures Earth flat. And if you feel the need to challenge that fact, you can join this show and tell me I'm wrong. That's no problem. Or like the guy yesterday, ask me what my distance to the sun would be, or how we would, in potential terms, find out the distance. And I'll tell you, we don't know, we can't measure it, but we do use the sun with flat Earth elevation angles off surface level to find our way at sea with its ground position. That's the position on the ground. Not out on a tangent in the middle of space like you might find our opponents on the other side of the pond apologising with. Just measurements of a flat Earth with a flat baseline out towards the horizon with the horizon mirror on a sextant, and in this case the sun. Does that mean I know its height? No. Does it mean you can acquire its height? No. And I'm not going to be demanded to give it you just because your paradigm says you've got both an infinite distance to it and a set distance to it in AU. Now, that's not my problem when we're measuring it flat, because that's the end of the so-called argument that there wasn't ever really one to begin with. There is no argument. Earth's measured flat by everyone always and without exception. So we don't have any need to deal with these anti-flat earthers on the other side of the pond. We're in the same pond, and my door isn't even a door. It's an open way you can swim through and just communicate with me if you feel the need to share your pain.
You know who entered that door? I think it was on a Sunday. We did a special show because there was this thing going on called The Final Experiment. And some guy named Mick Toons came in, No problem, right? We didn't
No
charge
problem
him
at
a
all.
cover charge or anything.
Yeah, he came in. I pointed out for the 100th time, in literal terms, the 100th rendition of me saying, Toon, you're measuring Earth flat with elevation angles. And before I'd finished the sentence, he was rumpusing the living daylights out of me, telling me that I'd said there was guns stopping him on his pre-planned trip to Antarctica. Now, 6 months later, that straw man resolved itself when the Chilean government escorted a man away at gunpoint for landing on Antarctica without permission. Meanwhile, the 100th rendition of the fact Earth was measured flat in Antarctica got rumpus by somebody who felt the need to join the show through the open doorway that's on offer to anybody who feels the need to tell me I'm wrong about guns, as opposed to the flat Earth measurements that they were literally measuring as I said those words. They were literally measuring Earth flat as I pointed out how flat Earth was being measured. What's that? Where are the guns? Yeah, you can join my show and ask me about guns, or ask me about the book, or ask me about a million other things that aren't related to how flat Earth gets measured in all circumstances. You can do that. You can tell me that by not coming to you, I'm a coward. You can do that too if it makes you feel better. It won't alter the open door that has always been available here to anybody, including McToon, when he was measuring Earth flat in Antarctica. And that's what he got told. Now, obviously, he found that very difficult to cope with and instead chose to make repeated videos claiming I'm a child abuser, rather than addressing the fact he measured Earth flat with elevation angle measurements to the sun for a 24-hour period, like everybody else who is measuring Antarctica. Apart from Dave McKeegan, who couldn't cope with his own tripod, the dumbass. Other than Dave, who's very stupid, they all measured Earth flat in Antarctica. They also flew there in straight and level flight. They also had to descend using horizontal distance measurements and trig in the flight. So there's a multitude of flat Earth measurements being made if you're going to go to Antarctica. And if you feel the need to come and tell me that there's no guns there, you can do that. It's really easy. There's an open door, like Toon used. What's that? I've got a mute button. No, we all definitely heard him telling me that I was a coward and that there was no guns there. We definitely heard him.
Yeah, he was muting you, actually. And the other thing is, you will go to another platform, right? If the money's right.
Sure.
Pay the man.
Of course, pay me and I'll go. I mean, I'm a total whore in that regard. Pay me and I'll be there. I mean, you can suggest you're going to pay me and then piss me around for endless emails, not giving me a dime. But I really get short-tempered with people who do that. Well, not short-tempered. I give them short shrift. That's the correct term. As in, I don't continue to talk to them. Like, if you're going to suggest that you're going to pay me and then you don't, you just go back and forth with me on email. I haven't got time for that. Like, I literally was to the wire today because I've got to do other things. The YouTube ad revenue has dipped. As much as that irritates me, I still have to pay my bills, and therefore I have to do other things to mitigate for the dip in potential earnings. Now, previously, I tried to mitigate for the loss in YouTube revenue when it happened 12 months ago by writing a book. But, you know, when you write a book, you end up with thieving bastards trying to steal it from you and take the intellectual property away from you. I mean, that's what happens. I mean, obviously, I've mitigated from a mitigation, and I've solved that problem too. And in the meantime, whilst mitigating from a mitigation, I've got microphones to sell. And right up until the start of this show, I was testing microphones to sell on eBay. That's just what you got to do. I mean, I will keep the lights on because this bit right now, not the coffee, but this bit making the show is the bit I love. I love doing this. This is my dream come true. And it is for many people. You ask the kids, what's their top job? They don't say astronaut anymore. When I was a kid, they said astronaut. Now they say YouTuber. And I understand why, as a YouTuber. Doing this, is an absolute dream come true. With my Neumann microphone, with my Stream Deck in front of me, my OBS studio, my Voice Meter Banana, my Google Hangouts on Air, now called Meet, and my Discord server. And my, what's the name for Skype now? Teams. And with my YouTube live streaming studio and my VLC and my chat boxes and all the other windows that are open that I run while I'm running this very complicated show and potentially debating with scumbags that tell me that there's no guns in Antarctica. I'll do all of this simultaneously because I love doing it. This is a dream come true to be doing it and a privilege. Now, I never forget that fact. It is a privilege to be a YouTuber. The fact that I have to supplement my income because I'm heavily censored by selling microphones and producing a book, so be it. But still doesn't change how much I love doing this. This is a dream come true. And you can join me in this dream. The door is open. You're all welcome to join. And if you swear or get stroppy, you'll still be welcome back the following day, like I say in every intro. Yeah, Toon's still welcome. Door's open, Toon. What's that, you want to tell me that there's no guns there? Yeah, there is. The Chilean government escorted a man away because he didn't have all the paperwork done. The same paperwork you banged on about for months up until you going there, that you simultaneously forgot about the moment you were on a call with me, having walked through my open door, and participated in this dream come true I call YouTubing. Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah, I think you threw him off, though. When you didn't fall for that and you went right to the measurements, you threw him off because he was trying to red herring, get you to talk about how, no, that's not true. You just got permission to go there and go through that whole rigmarole, and you just went right to the measurements, and that threw him off.
Yeah, well, I've been saying it for quite a period up until that moment, hadn't I? Like, we're measuring Earth flat, elevation angles. I could just think of one example, like 100 times, well, actually 99 times, that I'd said it to Toon personally. You think he'd, be shocked and shaken when it's literally been 99 prior times that it had me tell him you're measuring Earth flat with elevation angles. What a shock! He wanted to go straight to the measurements he'd gone to 99 times every single time he'd communicated with me. Is that a shock? No, if nothing, I'm very predictable. I went straight to the measurements of a flat Earth that they'd been using and were doing as I said the words, you're measuring Earth flat. They were doing it right then. All of them were measuring Earth flat for 24 hours. Apart from dumbass Dave McKeegan, who couldn't cope with his own tripod. Other than an idiot named Dave McKeegan, they were all measuring Earth flat for 24 hours, and Toon had been informed of that 99 times before getting on the phone with me. I mean, what a happy coincidence that it was literally the 100th time when he joined my show without any impedance, if I could get the word out. Nothing stopped him from joining to tell me that there weren't any guns there. What about the guns that escorted the guy by the Chilean government? What about those guns? Oh, right, you got all the paperwork done to go and measure Earth flat. Yeah, and I told you were measuring Earth flat 99 times prior to getting on the phone to me. So what, was it a shock? I don't think so, Neil. I've got to be honest. I'm pretty predictable.
Yeah, but the Earth is measured flat locally. So, if... because it's so fucking big, it's excuse me for swearing. It's so big that it's measured locally flat. So maybe somebody would have the idea to have like 1,000 people measure the Earth all together.
Yeah, somebody all over the plane all simultaneously. A bit like I don't know who could we lean on? Maybe Simon Dan, who did exactly that. I mean, obviously the people on different continents weren't local to Dan when they all measured Earth flat simultaneously with the sun and elevation angles off surface level. I mean, obviously, if the surface level isn't level, then you're not measuring angles. But they did. They all measured Earth flat, non-locally, to Dan, the organiser of that little event where everybody, not locally, yeah, not all of them are local to Dan. They're all very much distant from Dan. But they all measured Earth flat simultaneously, didn't they, with the sun and their elevation angles off surface level. Yeah. So you can say, local to you and everyone else around you, you all measure Earth flat. But as I said in the pre-show, these idiots no longer hold any fascination for us. They're in the same pond as us. And like Toon, you can join. We're in the same pond. It's just you get all the money and views funneled towards you because you sit in line with the Western world, nay, worldwide one religion that came from the Roman Catholic Church of being on a ball, flying around the sun in Keplerian motion scaled by Christian Huygens. Now, you, who sit in line with Big Daddy government telling you that you're on a ball, you'll get all the views and money, and I have to work incredibly hard to raise my 2 kids and keep the lights on. But I don't mind, I love what I do. Yeah, life's no fun if it's not a bit of a struggle. When you're living on easy mode, like the anti-flat earthers do, I mean, what fun have they got? They just have to put up with not being able to sleep and having to strawman me with no guns. Now, if you were in a winning position, you wouldn't be strawmanning me with guns. You'd be saying Earth's measured sphere shape, Nathan, like this sphere shape measurement we've got. as opposed to taking quite a considerable time, money and effort to go to a foreign land called Antarctica to all measure it flat. Apart from Dave Dumbass McKeegan, who couldn't cope with a tripod. They all measured Earth flat there. Why go to the effort? You could have just done what Simon Dan did and measure it flat using the participation of people locally to themselves, not to Dan. Obviously, none of them were local to Dan when they all measured flat non-locally with the sun and its elevation angle off surface level. But they are not of interest to us anymore. Normal people also measure Earth flat. Ones that aren't apologising for our non-globe shape, they aren't measuring it. They all just measure it flat and get on with their day, and that's what we encourage you to do. When you come here and realise that everyone measures Earth flat, you can just get on with your day. You don't have to carry on like some numpty travelling to Antarctica to attempt to measure Earth flat and then fail miserably because you don't have to use a tripod like Dave McKeegan. You don't have to go to such expense and effort. You can just know how Earth is measured and then get on with your day knowing that Big Daddy government lies to you. Like, that's a shock. Like, you've got to be completely idiotic to not appreciate how much your government lies to you. Like, on a daily basis. But they won't lie about you being on a ball? Well, how naive our anti-flat Earth brethren are. But the rest of us just know how Earth's measured. Like when you're using a compass, or a sextant, or a protractor, or any tool for measuring the surface for an angle, or any distance measurement along a straight horizontal, the surface level, or how high or low things are with respect to sea level, or how you fly in straight and level flight, parallel with the surface level, measured from the sea level. All of these things are just measurements of Earth that people use and utilise in their daily basis to get on with their general living circumstances. Not so that they can apologise for how globe-shaped it isn't. Normies don't do that. The only people who do that are the people losing sleep on the other side of our pond. Now, they get money to compensate for their lack of sleep. Me, I rejoice in the joy that God has given me by being this flat-earthing YouTuber. I know I'm right. And that's priceless. You can't put a price tag on being correct when it comes to a fundamental alteration to people's trained Big Daddy government worldview of being on a ball. You can't buy what I have. It's not got a price tag. But what you can do is funnel money to people so that they can compensate them for losing sleep when they, too, travel to Antarctica to measure Earth flat. That'll need compensation. And the views and the popularity and the subsequent ad revenue that you get from that compensation. But that's what it is. They're being compensated. Me, I'm being censored. But I'll get by. I want to put a big shout out, a massive thank you to everyone who recently has given me money via PayPal. I haven't kept a penny of it. Every penny has gone to my wife to transcribe my book that two thieving bastards tried to steal the 5th draft of. Now, she is working her little socks off, bless her, and she's motivated because people have given me money on PayPal. Now, I could just say, oh, just keep it. She's my wife, she'll do that anyway. But she's very shrewd and she asked me, can I have the money you get on PayPal? It's like the random donations that you get. And don't get me wrong, throughout the month I might get 20 quid here, 30 quid there. But since the shit hit the fan, for want of a better terminology, people have been very, very generous. And I want to be upfront about that gratitude that I have. It's all gone to my wife, and I'm extremely grateful to be able to do that. Thanks to the people who give me money on PayPal. I am so grateful that my wife does it almost daily. Whenever she gets a spare 15, 20 minutes, she'll be transcribing videos. And I'll listen to the dulcet tones of myself making my book. That's something else I want to make clear. If there's any inference that some thieving tossers were actually the authors of my book, having listened to the recordings, that's a complete lie. I wrote my book. There were no ghostwriters. There were a couple of trumped-up secretaries who tried to thieve from me. But having listened back to the recordings, wasn't their work, never was. Just liars. It leaves a lump in my throat that I should talk about former friends this way. But nevertheless, life moves on. And if it wasn't for such turmoil, I wouldn't have such a wonderful ending to my book when it's finished, would I? So life has a way of working out for the best, and this is no exception. Well, an interesting 25-minute start to the show. Feel free to join. There's a link below. You do have to get voice verified so we can check that you're not just a computer. Some real person will engage with you to make sure that you're a legitimate person, which is, as I understand it, standard fare for 99% of all Discord servers. That's what everybody does, basically. They want to keep their servers managed correctly by voice verification. Now, I don't do any of this. It's not my server. I am privileged enough to use someone else's server who manages it. Not on my behalf either. Like, I have no rights when it comes to Righteous Force's server. It is his. And if he one day turned around and said, get lost, I actually feel that you have wronged your secretaries. You can go away now. I'd have to make alternative arrangements. I wouldn't have any way of saying, oh, but I built this server. No, I wouldn't do such a thing. I'm not a scumbag.
Well, I got a quote from somebody that says, the guy's name is Shasta. Hold steady, QE. You're the true author. All in caps, Nathan.
Is that right?
Yep.
It's a good job I recorded the entire process, eh, Neil?
Now, how are they going to feel when this book comes out? What are they going to say? Oh, we made a mistake. We thought it was QE and Adam writing it.
Well, it's all about me and what I've done for the last 11 years. That's not going to be a shock, is it? Well, my wife's going to be happy. I've just received a PayPal. Shout out to, is it Michael? Thank you very much, Michael. You flashed up for a second and now I can't get into PayPal, but we'll do a proper shout out as you've done it during the live show. Yeah, it is. Thank you very much, Michael, for sending me money. I will immediately forward it on to my wife. She's going to be very pleased. Second PayPal of the day.
People get behind you, Nathan, because they like what you're doing. We like what you're doing.
I like
Stay
what
true
I'm
to
doing.
yourself.
I love what I do. I said that a minute ago. I'm just repeating myself. But I do genuinely love what I do. The microphones, less so, right? They're like anything retail. You get to a point where you're doing it because you need to do it to keep the lights on. And I remember my folks when they were flogging computers and they wanted to give me their business. They wanted to retire. And they offered it to all three of us, me, my sister and my brother. And we all said no. But prior to us saying no, I asked my mother, well, do you like what you're doing? You know, you're really good at selling computers. Do you like it? And the response, my mother's response was, I could kick them in the air. I hate them. And I'm getting to feel that way a little bit about microphones. That said, on occasion, you get a really, really nice one. And you're like, oh, I'd really like to keep this. The show must go on. Says, oh, I can't read the super chat on this tiny little... Mickey Moose. Ah, you're in the show. Thank you very much, Mickey, for the super chat.
I thought that was Freddie Mercury.
The show must go on, even though I've got AIDS.
That's not nice. Yeah, the show will go on.
Thank you, Mickey, for the super chat.
Go ahead.
And thank you, Michael, for the PayPal. I just wanted to round out those two thanks. Thank you for the super chat, Mickey Moose, and thank you, Michael, for the super chat, for the PayPal. I don't want to give their full name because they don't necessarily give permission to do that, but you know exactly who you are if you're getting thanked by your first name. So thank you. I'll forward it on to my wife as soon as I get a chance.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, whilst you're saying you love doing this job that you do here, you know, on the YouTube, you also have to remember that you're actually providing a service of good information, more so to the point where you're putting the main media to shame. You know, the likes of National Geographic, for example, the Discovery Channel, History Channel, and then the BBCs and ABCs, because they're not giving this information you're giving them. Earth is measured flat. They're not saying that at all. They're not giving that information out there. So, you know, I mean, that in itself is excellent in that you actually explain how the Earth is measured flat, and you cannot be on a globe at all. It's impossible. That information is not getting out there. It's only getting out there through these kind of channels.
Well, you and me, Jin,
so well done.
We're nothing but mammals.
Thank you.
So we should do it like we do on the Discovery Channel.
You do it better than the Discovery Channel, I'll tell you that much.
I'm getting more PayPal notifications. Man, people are sending me PayPals. Man, my wife is going to be so rich. Thank you very much to John. Wow, thank you so much. $50, more than $50. Thank you so much, John, for the super chat, for the PayPal. I keep calling him super chats. Again, I'll send it on to my wife, who's going to be very, very grateful for all this money coming her way. I am too. It's obviously going into the household pot, so to speak. So thank you very much for your PayPal contribution, John and Michael. And earlier, Liam, which has already been sent to my wife. Thank you.
Shows you the desire. People want this book, boy.
Yeah. You took the words out of my mouth, Neil, and I trust that the PayPal people will get a little mention in the book there somewhere. Yeah?
No, actually, they don't.
Keeping you alive whilst you're trying to get the book ready. That's all right.
Maybe I should do something to that effect and just thank all of the people who financially contributed as I produced the book. Absolutely. But then, by the same token, I could thank all the people who've bought microphones from me at a profit. So, you know, I'm not suggesting that they're on the same level. They're not. But, you know, there's lots of things I do to keep the lights on. And in this instance, I'm directly appealing to people to help me fund the transcription from video to Word document. So maybe I should. I'm not promising anything, though. I don't want to suggest that I'm going to do it because I want to keep the book as concise as possible. As much as I was called a scooch yesterday for having a complete flip-flop from no one's getting a mention to my trumped-up secretaries suggesting that they should get a mention to, well, anybody who's of note that could be anecdotally interesting will get a mention. There's a good chance that the names will be changed, though. So, you know, it'll be Noel Constantine rather than Neil Constantino. Constantino. You know, I'll just change the name.
Can't give me a better name than Noel.
Noel Constellation. But when you're reading about Ian Dobo, you'll kind of figure out that it's Eric DeBay, right?
That's gonna be funny. No, I didn't mean it that way. I mean, the book has changed direction. That's all I'm saying. But it is kind of like funny.
Again, after listening to I'm not fully listening to them. I don't want to make out like I'm listening to my own recordings back. I'm not. My wife is. But obviously, she's in the same building as me. Often in the same room as me while I'm listing microphones and buying stuff on eBay or selling stuff and packaging it, right? So I can hear what's going on in the background. And I said, it was only yesterday that I said this to her. I said, they've suggested, because she's on chapter 8 at the moment, and they've suggested that from chapter 4 onwards, it was a new book. That's what they'd said, right? Bollocks. Total liars. No, it freaking is not. As I'm listening back, it's like, no, I'm going through the stuff in the most concise way. And my wife's saying, when you're talking and I'm transcribing what you say, it's easy. When I have to listen to bloody QE and the trumped-up secretary waffling on and arguing for hours on end, they achieve very little. And then after they've achieved something, or seem to have, they then change their mind afterwards and I have to go back and type it out again. So like, so they've believed that having wasted a shit ton of time, that it's theirs. No. Like I say, I hear plenty of my interjections and my words producing my material. Now, people gaslight you, don't they? That's all they were doing, gaslighting. This is ours. I wrote it. You're like, no, you bleeding did not. Having recorded it, I can go back and assess exactly how much contribution they put in. Very little, you glorified trumped-up pair of secretaries. Wow. 5 Lion Toys. Thank you so much for the PayPal contribution. This has been the biggest run of PayPal contributions I've ever had. Thank you so much. Wow. I can't quite believe how many PayPals I've been getting in. Really appreciate it. I'm going to be sending my wife about £100 in the next half an hour when this live show ends and I get a chance. Wow. Thank you so much. She will be elated. I am elated to be able to be in a position to do that and send her money. And each time I do, she says, thank you, audience, as in she responds in, how can I term this? She's thankful to the audience that supports me so I can support her. She is grateful and understands where it's coming from. She knows it's not coming from me because I'm penniless. But there we go. It means she doesn't have to do overtime. I'm sure I've explained this previously. The fact that she can dedicate time to it means she doesn't do the incentive work for a employer, which is Octopus Energy, who she's worked for many, many years as a customer service advisor. But they will do incentives where she gets more money, i.e. overtime or whatever. They'll give her like a tax-free incentive with these things called bends, that are like a credit card that she gets to spend on random crap if she does one of their incentives. But she's stopped doing all of it. Now, every moment that she gets spare, instead of saying, yes, I'll do that overtime, she says, no, I've got too much on. But she's still getting money for it. In other words, it's not to her detriment. In fact, it's been very profitable for her, I'm sure. I don't know, it might not have been. I mean, I've just sent what I said I will after negotiating with her. She was like, just send me the contributions you get on PayPal every now and again, and I'll be happy with that. I think she was just expecting I'd get, you know, £5 and £10 here and there. But then, like I say, because I've been talking about it on the show, people really do, as Neil points out, want the book to come out. And are keen to see that happen. Therefore, are keen to support me financially to get that to be the case. So she's been very shrewd and she's done quite nicely out of it. Or at least I hope she will once it's all done and dusted.
Well, just think, if she was married to Ranty, she'd just be getting half of them.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to lie. There is that temptation when you get a whole bunch of them to say, well, she wouldn't know if I didn't give him her all. But it's like, why would you be that person? Then you'd just be Ranty, like you say. So I just say, you're doing really well. You're very shrewd by asking for the PayPals because you're doing really nicely out of it.
Just don't ask for co-authorship.
She joked about that immediately. As soon as she started to do the transcriptions, and we were talking about it on one of the shows, she appeared to get herself a cup of coffee. And she said over my right shoulder, are they talking about my book? That's what she said. But she said that they'd done me a favour. This was the conversation I was having with her last night. She said, they've done you a favour. Like, the bits that you contributed to your own book with, as weird as that phraseology is, are outstanding. And they won't need that much polishing. But your trumped up secretaries, they haven't actually contributed that much. They've tried to force it into a direction that it didn't need to be going in. And by betraying you, they've done you a favour. Now, I like my wife. She puts positive spin on things to keep me sane. Now, how true that is, like I say, I probably listen to 5% of what's being transcribed while she's doing it. Because it upsets me. I've got to be honest. I don't want to hear their voices. But, so for that reason, I try and stay out of the way. But I can hear enough to know that they've gaslit me into suggesting that it's theirs and that they've done a shed ton of work. They haven't. And you knew that, Neil. You were telling me that all along. But when someone's gaslighting you, you second guess yourself. Is it really theirs? No, it bleeding isn't. Now, thankfully, I had somebody loyal, Neil, telling me, no, what are you talking about? It's not yours. You haven't suddenly usurped the original author. It's all about him. And you were there sat while I was going through it. Now, towards the latter stages, when they did more forcefully take over in some of the later chapters, it became boring. Like, very boring. To the point where I lost all interest and was participating less because it became tedious listening to their boring waffle. I'm sure you'll agree with that too, right, Neil? Most of the time I was playing Fortnite. The other thing, I might have said this previously, right, as we're on the subject. I'd shown my wife a whole bunch of videos when I first dug them all out and said, some of them don't actually have the text on screen because I'm playing Fortnite. And I've just, out of muscle memory, pressed that button on my Stream Deck while I'm playing the game. So the game's up on screen instead of the text. And at first, she had a quick look at them and went, a lot of these aren't going to be any use. They're no use. Sorry. Idiot. Why did you have your freaking game on screen? That's how she reacted to them. Now, since she's actually looked a bit more closely, she's completely done a 180-degree U-turn on that. She's gone, no, because you're obviously recording all the audio, I can still take in what you're saying while you're doing the recording. And it is still transcribable, even though there's a game on screen and there's no text on screen. So it isn't the case that just because I've recorded stuff with my game up on screen, that suddenly all for nothing and that bit of information's lost. Not at all. So it's only upon second assessment, now my wife's into the later chapters, that she's gone, no, actually, these videos are just as useful. So
that's good news.
I'm very pleased. But you don't know, like I say, until somebody's actually sat down transcribing it. So there we go. You've got a whole bunch of money, by the way. People have been sending you loads of PayPals. I say sending you, they've been sending them me. My wife's just walked in, I'm just telling her. And because I'm talking about it on the live stream, people have just been sending me PayPal after PayPal.
They want this book.
They do want this book. Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Get typing quick.
Oh, no, don't be in any rush. But, you know, I mean, by the same token, I do want it done.
Take your time. Hurry up.
Take your time, hurry up, Neil says.
We'll get it done, and it'll be.
You can't be heard. My shotgun mic's cancelling you. Don't worry about it. I'll tell him. She says we'll get it done. Yeah, I don't want her to be under pressure to get it done in a hurry. You know what I mean? I do want her to sort of get it done in her own good time. This is why life's not about life's not a race. This is something I got from that I've forgotten his name already. The guy that we were listening to, the psychological guy. And one of the things that he bangs on about continually is that the world around you wants to make you feel like you're in a race, like there's a destination to get to, and it isn't. Life is about what's going on now. Like, this is what is now. So to put undue pressure on my wife to get the book done is like, no, let's enjoy the process. It was tedious, hence me playing Fortnite. Now it's not tedious. It's frustrating, and it's sometimes upsetting hearing the people who've betrayed me's voices. But that's what's going on now, and that's how it is. And you've got to kind of lean into the experience of now and enjoy it for what it is. So me rejoicing and praising the Lord for being able to do my YouTube career is sincere. You know, I am very much thankful to Alan Watts, that's it. To Alan Watts for pointing that out. We live in the moment, right? There is no race. Same with my kids' education. So in schools, they're like, this kid's behind, that kid's ahead. For my kids, there's no such sort of notion. There's not, oh, well, Clover should be doing more reading than she is, or Eleanor's not quite ahead in her programming techniques or her use of Photoshop. She needs to do more to be at that more advanced level that the people who are good at Photoshop are at. It's like, no. By not doing those things, she just enjoys learning a whole bunch of different languages or music or whatever it is. And I'm the same. I genuinely and sincerely enjoy life more so now than probably ever.
That was what we liked about the homeschooling. That's what the people that gave us a brief synopsis about how you do it. They said you don't have to put any pressure on them because every kid is different. Every kid learns at a different level. And the beauty of homeschool is you don't have to rush. They can learn the way they learn.
Or don't, in the case of Clover, who just likes singing and dancing, and she's much more like me. She's not that keen on reading. So you have to kind of usher her along. Anyway, I don't want to be a baby bore too much. Let's change the subject.
Doing housekeeping today?
I think it's a bit late in the show to do housekeeping. We're at 20 to the hour. We've already been live for 40 minutes. So I think it's probably a bit of a waste of time.
We're not allowed anymore, Neil.
I will do housekeeping. I'm not going to just drop it. I do stand by what I said about it. Every time I read out a housekeeping question, I feel like I'm enabling our opponents in this pond that we're in.
Well, just like the book took a different direction, you know, your show's taking a little bit of a different direction. Your panel, a new panel is being formed. I don't know if you took notice to it, but pretty soon we'll have an equal amount on G Plus as we do in the Discord. So that's also being accomplished.
Yeah, but in the same regard, when you're feeling you're enabling them, you're saying you're not ready because you're rubbing their nose in it. That's what you're doing. Making a mockery of how the globe does not exist. I think it's great. And then interesting points are raised, and then you move on. It's a great standard. It was great when you began it. It'll be good today. It'll be good tomorrow. Me, I'd keep it. But like I said, everyone's entitled to their opinions.
Yeah, I mean, the housekeeping questions keep the former debate alive. But if your current rhetoric's there's no debate, why keep the former debate that never really existed alive? So asking questions like, is there any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth, when you know that what's depicted on screen now for the audience is the center of Earth being used as a flat planar reference point to acquire an angle measurement from. When you know that Earth is measured flat, and how that flat Earth measurement creates this sky dome and glorified protractor called the globe Earth. So why give them hope that there's going to be a molten iron core explanation coming their way by asking for it? It to me seems like we're just... I don't know, I don't want to torture my opponents. They're inconsequential to me at the best of times.
Yeah, no, I do. I want to torture them all the time, of course.
Why?
I knew there
But
was a
hold
reason
on.
you were raging. You're very funny.
Hold on, Jin. Here's the thing. See, Nathan says this all the time, and he doesn't realize it. But every time you demonstrate how Earth is measured flat, it's pouring salt in a very deep open wound that the ball has. So every time you say it pours salt in it, and it makes them very angry to the point where they call you a coward for not debating them on Earth Awakenings.
They bring up the final experiment. That wasn't an experiment. They get to that level. That's because of you and other flat earthers, of course. But, they are actually totally spiraling out of control. And this is what they do. That's because of what you're doing, It's measured flat. Great. Explain it why it's measured flat. Explain how we can't find the curvature anywhere. Explain it all. They've got to have it all. I want to deluge them with the facts. Just at one point. Everything. Bury them. Bury them.
It's an attack on their religion. Hence, the emotional barrier that is put up front is incredible. And I'm sorry, I'm speaking from experience. I learned their religion. I grew up with their religion. It was a tough fight. It was tough. It was hard keeping it up. And it was hard to admit.
That wasn't for me. The truth is the truth. That's it.
Hold on,
The truth is the truth.
Jin, as much as we do love to hear what your take is on someone else's opinion, he hasn't actually given it in full yet.
My apologies.
Carry on, Mickey.
Yeah, so, I'm sorry, I have to recapture my thought. I grew up with the globe Earth, with the iron molten core and all that stuff. Star Trek, the incredible psyop, mind brainwashing procedures of the modern age. It was very thorough, and it was very effective. And you're right. It's the truth. It's the truth. But that's where truth is often not enough, because we're dealing with a religion, and in religion, truth is often misunderstood as belief. So if I believe it, then it must be the truth. So it's a real mindfuck to get out of that. And, nothing that couldn't be overcome with a Nikon P900 across a lake of 20 miles. But still, it takes courage. And we tend to underestimate the effectiveness of all that brainwashing because we're on the other side of it now. But hardly anybody in here was convinced from the beginning that it was flat.
That's not true.
He means at the beginning.
Okay.
He said at the beginning. Carry on, Mickey.
Well, yeah, as a 14-year-old in school, the teacher says that, and they show us this, and they show you that. And wow, I didn't necessarily question everything they were telling us. I did have the experience and the luck that my dad had a really good telescope, and I had made some observations that contradicted what I had learned in school. But, at a younger age, that wasn't enough to just throw out the entire world view and religion and world as it was taught in school. It was only later in life that I got more interested in it. But I'm just saying that from my point of view, I understand how difficult it is for the opposition, for the Globers, to hear what we're saying. And I've shared this experience with you before also, where I show university students at the Lake of Geneva in a Nikon P900 across 20 miles, an object that is not possible to see according to their calculations. And I go over through the calculation with them before I show it to them. And I get incredible responses. One of the most entertaining being, there must be a problem with your camera. So that goes to show how profound this indoctrination really is.
Yeah, you're saying
it's a religion.
You empathize with them, right? You feel their pain and sympathize that they have to go through such pain. Now, unlike Jin, who likes rubbing it in, you can appreciate that their pain gets projected onto us, but you still empathize with their pain.
Exactly. But not only that, it also is the reason, from my point of view, for the premise where the conversation always starts, which is, disprove the globe, when the conversation shouldn't and must not start at disprove the globe. The conversation has to start this: how do you measure anything? How do you know anything?
Do a quick shout out to FE Patriot, who's not only supported me via PayPal, he's also sent me a super chat. So he said, I sent money via PayPal, but also, sorry, let's just read it a bit closer. I sent the 100 card via PayPal for your wife, and this one's for you. You are both awesome. Thank you so much for your generosity. I really do appreciate it. I'm literally just typing you out an email response via PayPal to thank you, but I'm also thanking you for the super chat while we're live. So thank you very much. And also thank you, Mickey, for buying me enough time to send a whole load of thank yous via PayPal. Yeah, sometimes I'm a little overwhelmed with the amount of support I get. The generosity of the community is overwhelming. And while I'm sure our flat Earth or anti-flat Earth counterparts in the same pond do get support regularly from their viewership, that's to say they'll get super chats too, and I'm sure they're very grateful to their audience. It's just not the same. You know what I mean? There's a collective cause that people support when they send me money. Like there's an intent behind it that just wouldn't be there to support what is essentially a mainstream narrative anyway. If you were to support someone like Simon Dan, for the sake of argument, you send him your 10 or 20 bucks on a super chat because you like engaging with his YouTube videos, right? Now that's all well and good, but it's not the same as someone saying, man, I really want your book to come out. Here's some money to give to your wife, and I'm going to send you a super chat. That's so much more than just the money. Obviously, I like the money. I'm really grateful for the money. I'm not going to pretend I'm not. And it is hard-earned money that people are giving me. So again, I do appreciate that. But it's the sentiment behind it that just makes it so much more valuable to me. It makes the world a better place for me as an individual, and obviously my wife in this extended circumstance. But I just highly doubt that type of sentiment can never be ascribed to somebody who's PayPaling Dave McKeegan for failing to use a tripod or whatever. You know what I mean? It's just never, it's not quite the same. I don't know that for sure, but I can't imagine that someone would be, you know, so keen to say, without you, I wouldn't be on a ball anymore. Do you know what I mean? Whereas people tell me all day long, I'm really grateful for what you do. You've got me off the ball. I appreciate how Earth is measured flat now. That's the kind of sentiment I generally get. That kind of gratitude isn't comparable to our anti-flat Earth competitors. I just can't see how it could ever be mirrored. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but do you know what I'm getting at? I don't see how there could be a comparison in terms of the type of support and the sentiment behind it that I receive.
Yeah, I see what you mean there. I think, you know, with the those who are giving the McKeegans money and that, it's the blind keeping the blind blind. In a way, you know.
That's a good way of putting it.
Whereas, there you go.
Shout out to Unitox Femi, who's gifted a membership to somebody who picked up the membership. Sam received the free membership. Welcome to my membership, Sam.
In the world of the blind, the one-eyed man is king, implying you don't need perfect vision. You just need to be better than everyone else around you.
Well, that could be taken as extremely derogatory now, couldn't it?
And why is that?
In a world of people with no legs, the fat man rules. It's like, you're calling me fat?
Well, it took somebody else to point out the horizontal plane of reference in the Urkel calculator that you were staring at for 5 years.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And I have enough humility to admit that. There was times where I got close. If you go back to some of the early shows, like shows not even 100, like show 70 through show 200, when we're dealing with the Isle of Man, there's various different points where it gets said, well, this distance is horizontal, but it's not noted, it's not recognised just how flat Earth proving the measurements are. Or when we're going through Google Earth and looking at the horizontal distance measurement, it gets hinted at and danced around. But in terms of the actual acknowledgement of how flat Earth is in sincerity being measured to punch into the curve maths, no, it wasn't noticed. It did take John, refracted curvature, 10 times of saying, I'll give my opponents every single argument that they ever want to have and concede to them all. Now, he didn't phrase it the way I phrased it, Earth's measured flat. He didn't make it that concise. And when I finally did make it that concise, it got a crap ton of pushback, even from our own side, and still does. But ain't that the way with the truth?
High-end panel members.
But isn't that the way with the truth? It's going to get pushback.
I don't see why. For years, we were searching for the silver bullet. We got the silver bullet, and all of a sudden it's a problem. Well, it ends the argument too fast. Well, too bad. There is no argument, never was. And we just realized that a few years ago. So now we're just going to stick with the basic facts that Earth is measured flat. We could teach people. It could become a teaching channel. How Earth is measured flat. But as far as keeping the argument alive by going over ball rhetoric, that's disturbing to me. The see too far thing to me drives me up a wall. I do understand it, but it makes no sense to me.
Well, I was going to say
what
that
is
earlier.
The argument? What is the argument for the molten core, that it could have magnetism when we know that the molten iron cannot cannot be magnetized?
Yeah, let's talk about
What was
that.
their argument?
Instead of pointing out how it's measured flat.
Yeah, that's very old school, Mickey. So I was going to say earlier, when you did it with P900, it's the same thing. You're like, well, we can disprove it with a P900 at 20 miles. You're like, just take a step back from that statement. You don't need the P900. You only need the 20 miles because they're measured flat. And in
Exactly.
In terms of the molten iron core, like at the center of a presupposed spherical Earth, how did we get a presupposed spherical Earth? Well, we measured Earth. Okay, well, what did we measure? Flat Earth elevation angles to Polaris at the minimum, or we measured the height of a mountain off a flat Earth with trig to derive a radial value by measuring a point below the surface level we measured, flat, with a parallel eye level. So you don't need the argument for the Curie point, which is what you're pointing out. What Mickey, for the audience's benefit, what Mickey's pointing out is that the rhetoric for a molten iron core has the molten iron core at a temperature that's beyond what's known as the Curie point. The Curie point is where a molten liquid metal stops being magnetic. So the reason we say self-perpetuating molten iron core is because their rhetoric requires it generate a magnetic flux through its movement. That's to say it's being stirred up and spinning to generate the magnetic field. So how does it spin? Well, it's self-perpetuating. It spins of its own volition to be beyond the Curie point and still develop a magnetic field inside an Earth that's been claimed to have a radial value based on flat Earth measurements. You don't need any of the previous rhetoric. You just need the flat Earth measurements to start the story. But when you start the story with a radius derived from flat Earth measurements, everything else becomes moot, doesn't it? And that's kind of the problem with the housekeeping questions. All of them become moot when you recognise that every single road led to a flat Earth after you started picking apart the rhetoric for seeing too far with a P900. Too far? Well, where's the limit for it to be, quote, too far? How far is too far? Well, the too far is based on a begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator that requires you input values that are measured off a flat Earth. So suggestions of seeing too far become moot when you know that the measurements are flat. What a productive hour that's been.
Yeah. I'm still going to be using it though. I'm still going to, because I think people like to see that 20-mile distance and see something 20 miles away and be amazed that they can see something 20 miles away with a camera. You know, that practical application of the measurements, measuring flat and seeing it in actuality properly from the sea level. Yeah, you know, it's breathtaking.
Yeah.
And that experience must be experienced by every human being who is learning about the Earth being measured flat. It's okay to have it on paper. It's okay to explain it as it is with the trick, and you explain it. Let's see it.
You're what's called stubborn. And your purpose here is to be that person, actually, Jin. I was talking about this with Craig on the panel. He's called Click OK. He's not here at the moment.
Yeah.
But I was over a curry on Friday. We were pointing out, like, everybody on the panel has a certain place. They find their own place. And your place is to be that guy, stubborn. You like the old school rhetoric of seeing too far. Now, you'll acknowledge how flat Earth must be measured with 20-mile distance when we see, quote unquote, too far. And you'll point out that we're seeing beyond the limitations of a begging the question sphere edge horizon measured off flat Earth with a surface level and a parallel eye level. You will insist on using those arguments in spite of me pointing out how flat Earth must be measured to make said argument. But that's where you're useful to the debate, because people who come and go, well, haven't we got a rhetoric where we see too far? It needs someone to point that out with stubbornness, with me correcting it constantly. And that's you. That's your place here currently.
Okay, well, never mind. If that's going to be my place, that's okay. But the point is this. I always say we're seeing further than the Earth's curvature would allow if the Earth is a globe, which we know it isn't. And then you need to experience that. You need to see that with your own eyes so you know. So when you're seeing that distance and you know there's no curvature that's blocking your line of sight, the Earth cannot be a globe. That's a practical application.
By comparison,
people see it every day.
Hold on, Neil. By comparison, if I was to say the temperature we experience in summer is hot enough that you could say if the Earth was a giant roast chicken, we would have temperatures that would be in excess of the temperatures we experience in your average English summer. Therefore, the Earth isn't an assumed to be giant roast chicken that I'm going to beg the question of in this suggestion that the temperatures are only conducive of a non-roast chicken Earth. My reply to that is, why would you assume Earth's a roast chicken, offer it up to the opponent, and then explain why it isn't?
They've been
Hold
taught
on.
and indoctrinated that it's a globe. They're carrying that in their mentality, but when they see it's not a globe, for real, through their own efforts, and they see it, in spite of their knowledge that it's measured flat, and they understand that, but they actually witness it in the practical application sense of it all, yes, it drives it home. I'm going to be using it for the rest of my life. So it's a combination of things, a preponderance of evidence, proofs, in fact, and then practical applications. And there's no way that they cannot learn from it. So,
Sure.
It's always going to be there.
Well,
Always.
while you'll do that, and Neil's figured out the way to do it, which is to intentionally and overtly play devil's advocate whilst doing it as a pretend baller, right? You're saying, no, I'll toe the line of an old school flat earther with the too far arguments. And I would respond, yeah, but you're going to get me interjecting, and I welcome it, and saying, but for the fact that 20 miles is flat, we couldn't have this argument.
I like to terminalize it as the terminology of we are seeing further than the Earth's curvature would allow. That's for those stubborn ones who are still trying to say that it's curved. And I said, no,
Yeah,
it's not.
I got that.
And this is how, because it's measured flat, and this is blah, 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 et cetera, as to how it's measured flat. And then you say to them, here, have a look at this. Take them there.
Sure.
Show them that.
We measure
the
the
Earth is
temperature
flat.
of Earth as though it isn't a roast chicken. But if we assume it is a roast chicken, then the temperature would be a lot hotter, and it isn't as hot as a roast chicken. Therefore, the Earth isn't a roast chicken that I'm going to assume it is. And explain why it isn't.
I'm not assuming the Earth is a globe. I'm
chicken.
talking to those who still think the Earth is a globe, or are insisting it's a globe, and then you're showing them how it's measured flat, and they still don't get it in their head. So they need to see it. That's what I'm saying now. Okay? Because you can, like I said, you can have it on a board and you can have it on paper, but the practical application is necessary. The visuals. Because some people don't get it. They just don't get it. You get it if you're in an airplane, it flies horizontal. You're on a ship, it's sailing horizontally. Hot air balloon, you see the levelness. But some people don't get it. So you have to walk them through that.
Yeah,
Got
but
to.
Jen, let me ask you a question. Every time you step outside your door, you experience Earth flat. When have we ever experienced Earth
Never.
ball?
Right. Right.
So why do I got to take them somewhere to show them a 20-mile footage?
I feel sometimes you do. Sometimes you have to.
Well,
Part
Neil's
of the
trying to-
learning
let me just
process.
rephrase it. Hold on, Jin.
what it
Let me
is.
just rephrase it for you. You don't have to prove non-positivity. That's what I'm trying to drive at with the roast chicken thing. If you're going to say Earth isn't something, that's not incumbent on you to do. You don't have to prove non-positivity.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. But the fact that I can is okay for me. I can prove that.
We're going
That's
to go
the
around
thing.
in
I
circles
can
here,
and I
repeating.
will. Thank you.
But but you don't have to. I don't have to disprove a non-inertial turning reference frame of Earth. It's incumbent on the person claiming it to demonstrate that it is, with a positive assertion backed with evidence. I don't have to prove it isn't. That's not necessary. But I'm going to round out the show on that note, unless there's anything anyone wants to add from Discord. Feel free. Speak now. No. With that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you. Hit me up on PayPal. Really, really appreciate that. I've already sent on almost £100 to my wife in the last 25 minutes. So very grateful I am to be able to be in a position to do exactly that and pay my wife to transcribe the book. So thank you very much to all of you who supported me via PayPal. Obviously, another massive thank you to all of you who supported me via the Super Chat. And for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, gifting memberships, and all that good stuff. Obviously, a massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.